February 29th, 2021. Have a delightful show for you. I say delightful, serious, entertaining, and well, I don't know about so much entertaining, but certainly informative, right? We'll be speaking to Miss Elizabeth Helton. She's out of Missouri, a fighter, a counselor, just a tremendous story she has to tell here. And I'm just excited to have her on today. And I'm sure she's going to pass on a lot of great wisdom to people who certainly need it and all. And, I'm just, I met Liz, sometime back, but I think she fought in a couple of our tournaments. And she's actually helped referee a couple of PKBs. And we'll talk a little bit about that maybe in the end. But great lady and everything, and just really determined. And that's what I like. I love stories like that. And that is why we're calling this the Fighter Within segment, right? Because we're really talking about that fighter that's on the inside of everybody. You just got to know how to call on it. And you got to call on it, right? Some people are afraid to call on it, because it comes out as a beast, maybe in a good way, right? But you got to know when. So Elizabeth Helton is going to talk a little bit about that and some other things. We always want you guys to like our AK Promotions page. We're also, again, streaming on YouTube at the very same time. So definitely check us out there too. Subscribe while you're there. We're trying to build up our subscribers there. Always it's Johnny Davis Live, real talk, real solutions. We'll be getting into a couple of topics. Again, I talk about anything, right? So that is what I do. And I also hope you guys will enjoy the conversation and everything as well. Just also want to remind everyone about our Spring Classic coming up March the 19th through the 21st. Is going to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, at the Landmark Resort. It's going to be a great event there, guys. So be sure to attend. In fact, registration is going to close about a month earlier than what we thought. I mean, registration has been tremendous for this event. People are hungry, as Les Brown would say. They want to fight, and we're going to give them a great platform to fight on. Want to remind everyone who had a rollover, if you did not inform me. In fact, our guests, Liz and Lily, they actually informed me that they're rolling to the October event, which is great. But most of you said you're rolling over to the spring. Haven't heard from a ton of you, right? So you need to get in, because really the divisions are filling up really, really fast, right? So you want to go ahead and get in, because we're going to have to shut down registration. I'm going to say in the next few weeks. That's what I'm going to say. Not 100% sure, though, based on the way we do our events. Remember, there's only one ring. We're going to run it for Friday, Saturday, and some of Sunday, not all day Sunday, and we're going to be done. We're going to go home, right? So I recommend highly that you guys go ahead and get in the tournament, register at akpromotions.org. Also have some great news for some of the fighters that are for our U.S. title fights. We have Mr. Jaden Reeves, Tyrese Cunningham, and Anna Toole. All of those fighters now have at least one contender in their four-person bracket there to defend, to fight for the certified IKF United States Championship. And we will be announcing them the first part of next week. So if you want to get in if you're qualified to do so and all. And again, we put the word out about fighters and about records and things like that. These fighters, all of them who are coming into this tournament, have an assortment of records, right? In Muay Thai, they have it in MMA, they have it in boxing. I just think it's time for us to start considering people with a widespread variety of fighting skills. But the question is, can you fight? That's the question. Can you fight? And these people can fight, right? And so if you want to join in, certainly join in on the tournament. We'll love to have you a part of it, no doubt about it. This weekend, actually, I'm going to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, guys. You got to come and check that out. It's going to be a great professional boxing event with Miss Christy Martin. Derek Reams, my co-host of Johnny Davis Live, is also going to be there. We're going to be interviewing some fighters and, some of the celebrities and people like that are going to be there on tomorrow. So it's going to be a great event. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to put a lot more time than me jibber-jabbering in what I do. Hope you guys will enjoy this next interview with this young lady. Before I bring her up, though, I come across, I'm always, like I said, on Facebook, but I did come across this little fight right here. And I want to just, show a little bit, and really we're not going to talk as much about the fighting aspect of it as much as we are about who she is as a person. But she's been in that ring. She battles hard. Let's take a look right now at Elizabeth Helton, and she's in a war right there, throwing some good leather there. She knows what she's doing. Look at those punches. Look at those kicks. I mean, she's nice. She's
big left, though.
poised.
They're out of Hawkins. Finds a home on the chin of Helton.
You know what Hawkins is doing this round?
Lady was coming, landing some shots. Liz was still there. And by the way, she didn't win this fight. Liz, lucky for me, I did actually pick a fight that you actually won, which you won quite a few of them there. That was some great action. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's welcome our guest, Elizabeth Nicole Helton. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm so crazy. You know I'm crazy, Liz.
Now I got to go back and watch so I can see the clip that you've played. I don't get to see it.
Oh, really? Really? I know, right? Well, just a little bit, just showing a little bit of you, kicking and punching. Really tough fight. The girl was game, and she was coming on. I don't remember her name or everything like that. Doesn't really matter that much right this minute. But she was a really tough fighter, and it just shows your heart and your determination, right? In the fight game. And I mean, that's a rarity and everything. So overall, tell me, how have you been, Liz?
Oh, I'm great. Yeah, doing really well. Living my life. I'm married. I work. And we train together. We both fight. So that's my whole life. So it's the best life. All we do is train and travel and compete and meet people. And, I never imagined I could be so blessed.
Right. Well, Lily, your wife, Lily, is a great lady, and met her. She's fought on one of our cards before and everything. And she is a warrior. She is a warrior, boy. I mean, both of you ladies did you win? Didn't you win the last tournament?
No, the last one I didn't. I actually lost to Anna Toole. So
you did. That was a great fight. That was such a great fight.
Yeah, we slugged it out, and she won that, and I'm super excited for her to get that title shot. It was a good fight. I knew we were gonna meet one day, and it was awesome. And I'm not gonna lie, I hope we meet again one day, just because she's solid. It's really hard to find like really strong, good women to just to fight. And I think what you were probably watching was from your first one. The first one that I was in with you, and I did win that one. Yeah, I don't remember the girl's name that I fought either, but I will say that I remember. When you find out who you're gonna fight and you look them up.
Yeah.
You're talking about barriers. When I looked her up, all these people were like, "Oh yeah, she comes from like I feel like it was like Hungary or something like that."
Oh wow!
Like, what? And so I'm like, "Oh, I gotta look her up on Facebook." And like her profile picture at the time was in like the Hungarian army holding like a machine. I was like, "Who am I fighting? Oh my god!"
Yeah.
So I made a decision before I was gonna go out there. I'm like, well, I don't know who I'm fighting. I don't know how many fights she actually has, but I'm just gonna put all my heart in it. And,
right. When you're getting, what I see is, you're getting so much better, and from that time, even though you lost to Anna. I mean, it was a really tough back and forth fight. I mean, you were landing a lot of good shots in there, and all. And so that's, I mean, I think you're doing great, and the sky's the limit for you, as far as you want to go. But I want to talk a little bit more about, the personal. I want to get a little bit more to the inside of Liz and everything. And hopefully we can, bring some people in, and those people that might need some help. Perhaps you can say some things, that might help them out. Johnny Davis Live, real talk, real solutions. So we have to dive into it just a little bit. I think you're being very brave, by the way, in sharing your story too. A lot of people like to keep things in, but that letter that you wrote is what kind of caught my attention, and the honesty about it, right? And the fact that you're willing to open up and tell people, hey, look what I've been through, right? But look where I am today. And I think that's really important. So let's go back for a minute. I like to always kind of preface these stories a little bit about, maybe your upbringing, I need to get a little storyline on that, and to kind of tell us a little bit about how you became who you are today, right? So let's go back to your childhood, right? What kind of upbringing did you? What kind of family did you come up in, etc.?
Yeah. So if I had to start there, I would say to you that I have two wonderful parents. My mom, most loving, supportive woman you'll ever meet. My dad, he's a blue collar guy. They've been divorced since before I was a baby. I don't ever remember them together, but they were both involved in my life. My
Do you
mom,
think, Liz, do you think that that might have affected you in any way in any of your life choices?
no, I really don't. I think that, when it comes to, gosh, I'm a social worker now and I work with divorced parents all the time and it can be a nightmare. My parents never let me see them argue.
Oh,
They worked together and, and raised me together. So, I think for me, what happened was, my mom had me when she was 17.
ah,
So she was young and and poor. I mean, we grew up just poor
right.
she got remarried. So I grew up actually in like a domestic violence situation. So I had
Oh,
a stepfather who was really abusive,
yeah, yeah.
who's my brother's father. And we grew up in a town called Joliet, Illinois, which is it's kind of part of the Chicagoland area. And
Hmm.
we just where we lived, just there was just a lot of violence. There was a lot of gangs, a lot of activity, and I think that really contributed to who I was as a child.
So was it a neighborhood like, will we say the hood? Was it kind of like that, or what kind of, was it more of a
Yeah.
rural area or what?
My very first house was on the east side of Joliet, and I will tell you that I have memories of being 6 and having an understanding that the park was off limits at times because there were gangs there.
Oh,
And now we're talking about, I'm older, so we're talking early mid 90s
okay.
in Joliet. So like, I mean, it's I just remember graffiti and gangs and I'll tell you what, I grew up really just glorifying them. Like I can remember being young and looking like,
Glorifying them.
oh yeah, like
Ah,
just feeling like they're powerful and they kind of run the neighborhood. And um, some days I look back at that and I think, gosh, it's a good thing I was a girl because it would have went really bad probably if I was a boy. But
right.
yeah, I mean, I had, that's kind of where it was. Now, when my mom got married, we moved. We moved over to the west side. I won't say it was a good neighborhood, but it was a little better. It was kind of like a upstep. But at that
Mm.
point, I was already kind of infatuated with this different kind of lifestyle. So when I hit about 10, 11 years old, I started seeking it out, and
So
anywhere
what kind of things were you doing when you say seeking me out?
yeah, so 10, 11, I started losing interest in school and being there. So I started finding ways to get out of school. I started smoking. I was probably that
You
age
were
when I
10?
started.
You were smoking at 10?
Yeah, and
Wow.
probably around more closer to 11. Yeah, I started smoking. I started experimenting with marijuana,
Mm,
hanging out. All my friends were older, they're
mm.
15, 16, 17. They're in high school. Um, and just, anything I could get that, was just exciting, exciting to
Wow.
me. So,
Wow, yeah, that's really it's very honest of you to say that, because again, a lot of people would not say that they started actually smoking, and stuff at 10 years old. But the reality of it is, these kids are so much more exposed today than they used to be, especially because of social media. Back then, social media was not probably as big of a thing, though, was it?
no, not at all. I think the thing is that you just, when you're hanging out with older kids that are already involved in it and you already kind of like look up to them and really glorify them, then it's like, oh, I want to do that. So like, I'm like, my mom smoked cigarettes. So I can remember like sneaking and taking them from her and being like, how do I do this? And like
Well,
figuring it out.
let me ask you
Older
a
kids.
question. Yeah, I know everybody loves for the most part, love their parents and everything, but do you think there is a little responsibility that goes towards, I always say this, I keep it real, about, I don't smoke and I don't drink and that doesn't mean my kids don't. I don't mean that
Yeah.
they don't, but I've always tried to set that best example forward. And what do you think
Yeah.
about that as maybe a potential for a future parent?
I mean, I wouldn't, obviously I do believe very strongly in role modeling and things like that. But, in terms of my mom, I mean, it wasn't just there, it wasn't that I saw her do it. It was that I was seeing these older kids do it. And maybe I didn't
Mm,
have access, but I
yeah.
will say that, man, I can't think of a thing my mom could have done differently to try to stop me from doing some of the stuff that I was doing. You
Mhm.
know, she did everything. She was like chasing me around. She's like dropping me off at school, trying to pick me up, and
Right.
I was impossible. I was, I was like, still to this day. I mean, it's like 20 years later, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, Mom, I'm so sorry for everything I put you through.
What? Mom, I'm so sorry. Now I see. Now I see. One of the things I read in the piece that you said, and I was kind of interested in that comment where you said that I don't regret my life choices because I love who I've become.
Absolutely.
I want you to kind of expand on that just a little bit. I'm just trying to figure out in that statement. So, is there just something, just live life and let it be what it is? And when you fall short, just learn and move on? Or should being regretful be a cautionary thing for you for future decisions? Does that make sense?
So I guess there are things that I've done that I wish I wouldn't have done because it had impacted other people. And
Mm,
those parts of my life, I will always have a sadness about.
mhm,
Because there's things that I've done um, that I know probably traumatized another person for the rest of their life. And that's hard for me and that's painful for me. But in terms of having taken the path that I took, I really believe that it placed me in a position where, I mean, I've spent the last 17 years of my life working with kids that were like me. And I
mm,
don't think that I would have that. I don't think that I would have that to give in the same capacity had I not walked the path that I have. So, and I think
mm.
that's what I meant. I meant that it was hard, but man, I found so much about who I am, the depths that I can go to. I found out so much about working for the things that you want in life, and it really just put me in a position to help kids. And I just don't feel like that would have been the path I'd gone had I not um, made different choices in life.
So those life experiences has been kind of like encyclopedic knowledge for you to be able to now reach back, if you will, and share some of those experiences and perhaps save someone's life.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I mean, I feel like there are people. I'm now. You mentioned I'm a counselor. Well, I've been a therapist for a long time. I'm actually a supervisor now, so I supervise other therapists. So I don't really
Yeah,
get to work with kids as much as like
sure.
directly anymore.
Right.
But man, 10 years ago I was working with kids, and some of those kids still reach out to me. I have one who's like, every time some major life circumstance comes up in life, she'll message me on Facebook, and she like found me, and she'll be like, I don't know what to do, like help
Right.
me process this situation. And I
Oh,
just feel like
good.
that's so important. That's so
Right.
valuable. So
Right. You mentioned
um
also that loving who you become. See, I break down everything. I'm telling you, I
yeah,
break it down. Right?
yeah.
You said loving who I've become.
Mhm.
Is this kind of a form of saying somehow that obviously you didn't love who you were?
Yeah,
And
I don't think I knew who I was,
ah, okay.
so I
Okay.
had these experiences. Yeah. you know i I went through this
Break
whole
it
period
down, Liz. Break it down, Liz.
from like 11 to 17. I don't know who I thought I was. Like,
Mm,
I don't know if I thought like I was some sort of gangster or what. I feel like I put on this mask, and I was living all these different identities, because depending on who you talk to is the person that you met. But
right.
you know I I was really money motivated. I didn't go to school. I got to eighth grade and was like, this is a waste of time. I actually barely finished eighth grade, and then that was it. I was done with most
Yeah.
of school. I don't know that I finished a full day of high school.
Oh, wow. Wow. So what would you say?
Ever. Like
What would
they
you say to kids right now who are struggling in school and who feel like that there's no future for them? They feel like there's no way. I know kids like this. They want to just quit. They want to give up. And again, they look at social media or whatever, and it's just enticing them. What would you
Well,
say to
yeah,
them about
give
how
me a second,
different?
and I'll actually answer that really well. I really will, because I like to talk about that part
Okay.
actually. But in terms of like not knowing who I am, like I said, like 11 to 17, like I don't know who I thought I was. But I mentioned in my post, I got in very serious trouble. They caught up to me at 17. I got in real serious trouble. I ended up, and the judge gave me a huge opportunity. I should have went to prison. I should have, all these things have happened. I don't, you can call it privilege, you can call it whatever it was, but for some reason, the judge gave me one chance and sent me to jail. He sent me to county jail. He sentenced me. My sentence was 6 months and 3 years probation. And if you mess up one time, your life is over. And when I went into an adult jail, I found out real quick that I was never the person I thought I was.
How
That
so?
I was
Also,
actually
how
quite
was that?
sensitive.
No, how was that? What was the experience that taught you that, hey, well, I'm not who I thought I was? What was it?
Well, my experience in jail. So I was in a Peoria County Jail, Illinois, and I mean, right away it was, we were on lockdown like once a week because of violent acts in the jail. I mean, while I was there, one of the people there broke a guard's arm with dinner trays.
Oh,
Like it was just constantly being locked down. But the other thing that I learned is that there's a culture to this lifestyle, and you can't skip parts. And the parts are that you spend time in jail. And these, I was watching these people come in and out of jail, and it was just a part of their life, and they had accepted that. I can remember people going to court and coming back, and they'd say like, oh, I got 2 years, that's nothing.
right.
And I'm 18 now, I'm like, at 18 years old, I'm like, 2 years, like I don't want to be here 2 years, like that's forever.
Right.
But also, just all those feelings that I was like stuffing down or trying to pretend like I didn't have. Like I was in there like, I miss my mom. I miss my life. Like I'm on the phone, like they're eating tacos. I'm like, you're eating tacos without me? Like I mean, this is, I can't be any more honest. Like I was in there and realized like, and then, I'm not using drugs anymore for the first time since I'm like 11. I'm not high. I'm not, doing that stuff. And I start to really feel things and really feel bad for some of the things that I've done and experience that. And that was the moment I realized this isn't who I am, and I'm not willing to pay the price for this lifestyle. And this is the price. I can't do it. I cannot do it.
Right. So you whipped out in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I found out real quick, and I'm going to tell you that I've also met some really good people in there.
Yeah.
That if it weren't for them, I probably wouldn't have made it.
Right.
And so I learned a lot about.
So what kind of? Let me interject. You said there were good people in there, and we know that people make mistakes and they end up in jail. But give me an example of what you are calling a good person beyond their crime.
Yeah. So, when I got in there, people, right away, I'm the baby, and people are basically bullying me, and trying to find out who I really am. And there were 2 women in there, and one of them's name was Chris and one of them's name was Cynthia. And they were both, very honest that they were prostitutes and they were drug addicts, and they had spent their life in and out of jail. But for some reason, and I'll never know why, they decided that they were going to take care of me for nothing. I mean, people have these like stereotypes of like being in jail, like, oh, they took care of you. No, like they really just were like, let us help you navigate through this. And they took care of me. They protected me. When people would, get really, bravadoed and angry with me. They took care of me, and I became a trustee while I was there, and I served meals and stuff. And they, they did those things with me, and they really took care of me. They were good people. They were good people that lived a life that, most people would not respect in any way. But I don't have any contact with them, but man, I think about them a lot.
And guess what? I have people like that I respect as well. The people that no one else probably would because they did illegal stuff and all that. But they respected me and they looked out for me like on the street. So I understand exactly what you're saying. Let me digress for just a moment though, because we kind of jumped past an area when you said you started smoking, but you didn't tell me about the drug part. You didn't say that progressed to something else. Apparently it did.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in high school, I was just reckless. I smoked a lot of weed. I drank a lot of alcohol, and I took a lot of pills, a lot of psychedelics. I mean, I was just always on the search for something to make me feel something else.
Mm.
So my mom tried to move me away. She took me to Bloomington. I got to Bloomington. I started, selling drugs. Just doing whatever I wanted to do.
Do you feel like a
Just,
sense of that you lost time? That
oh
you
yeah, absolutely. Like I feel like I ruined my, childhood. Basically, I ruined it myself. I just was out there just making awful decisions and
yeah. Because
missing
some
out on experiences.
I guess you really can consider yourself lucky because a lot of people don't get through. They don't make it past those times. They're using the drugs and they're hanging around certain groups of people. They end up in underground or in an urn somewhere, right? And
Yes,
also, so do you feel fortunate that you made it through that time?
every day. And the thing is that there were, I did have a loving mom who was constantly fighting for me. I did, and because I had, a good mom and a good dad, underneath all of these like layers of garbage that I'm, putting out there were
Right.
like really decent values in me.
My wife
So
always says, "Play the tape." Do you think that that's what you were doing? That you played the tape of all the speeches that they gave you, and don't do this and don't do that, or something. Especially when you were on downtime, when you lost your freedom,
yeah.
that probably gave you a lot of thinking time as well. Do you think so? Was
Oh yeah.
somehow being in jail a blessing and maybe something worse than that, all at the same time, all bundled into one thing?
Yes, and that's where it starts. That's where it starts. Where I say I can't regret it because being being in that moment is changed everything for me. So
Right,
and so I'll say that's a great crossing point to where you talk about the schools factor. So I got my GED while I was in jail. So when I got out of, and that's what kids say, like, oh, I just want to drop out of school and get my GED.
right,
And I used to hate. I actually didn't share my story with a lot of clients because
right,
I didn't want kids to say, well, look, you turned out just fine.
right.
And it took a lot of years
But
and a lot
a
of
lot of them didn't make
reflection.
it. Right,
Yeah. Took a lot of years and a lot of reflecting to be like, well, that's not actually the case. It it took me like 4 years to get an associate's degree going full time. Like it took me a long time to get through school. And the reason is because I didn't have any foundational knowledge. The
right,
GED doesn't prepare you for anything. I was in school. I dropped out of basic algebra 3 times because I was in class in tears because I just couldn't get it. I couldn't figure it out. I
right,
was missing, I remember just feeling so many times I just wanted to give up, give up.
right. Right,
I can't do this because I just don't have it. I don't have all this foundation that most people get. And still to this day, as an adult woman, there are things that I don't pronounce right. There are things that
right.
I don't understand right that people are like, oh, and they correct me and it's so simple to them. And I'm like, I must have missed that day in
Yeah,
class.
yeah, yeah. But I do want to, before I, go too much into that area, because I certainly want to talk about that because I think it's outstanding. Is about, whatever you did, right? You actually ended up being a felon. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So
So, and being a felon, you kind of become a marked person. It's just the reality of it is. I want to ask you about what is that feeling of, even though you served your time, you still come out with a felon on your record and trying to get a job and just people looking at. Tell us a little bit about that time frame and what you went through there.
yeah, I think you say it really right. You just feel like everything's scary when you're a felon, to be honest. And I mean, if you get pulled over for a speeding ticket, you know that it's on their little thing. You know that they know.
Mhm.
When you're going to apply for an apartment, to stay somewhere, everything is extra work. Nothing comes easy. That you're gonna get denied jobs. You're gonna get denied places to live. You're gonna, anytime you have to mark the box that says, "Have you ever been convicted?"
Right,
Probably whatever you're looking for isn't going to happen, and
right.
it's just heavy. I mean, it's
How many years? How many
following
years?
you around.
How many years
That's
did
your
you live?
life.
How many years did you live through that? I'm sorry. How many years did you live have on your for?
Let's see. I was arrested when I was 17, and I think the pardon happened 4 years ago. So 16 years as a felon.
Wow.
Right.
So what kind of things did you do? What kind of work did you ultimately do with that kind of mark?
Yep. So my first like real job when I got out of jail was cleaning houses. They
Mm.
paid cash. I just cleaned and worked as much as I could. Um, my mom actually worked at a substance abuse facility, which is an interesting part of this. It's the same substance abuse facility I was at when I was a kid.
Mm.
And they had like a third shift spot open, and somehow she got me in
Oh,
there.
good.
And I remember when they ran the check, I told them about the felony, but even then, even after you tell them, like when it comes back, I just want to let you know that it's not just a felony. In the state of Illinois, my felony was a forcible felony, which is attempted armed robbery. So it involved a gun. So
Right.
that, like, I mean, I always remember like thinking like, yeah, they know, but when it comes back and it says what it looks like, is it really going to happen? But
Yeah.
for some reason, the supervisor at that facility met me, interviewed me, and decided that for some reason I was worth giving a shot to, and
You were right.
I don't know why, but she did. And I started working there at this substance abuse facility. I mean, making like $8.25 an hour, but still, like, it was a pivotal moment in my life.
But Liz, I don't understand how they expect for someone who's never lived and never had something like that in their lives to go and work at a substance abuse place and be able to relate with people there. In my opinion, you're the perfect kind of person that they need there, right? Somebody who's lived it. Hey, it's not good. I've been through it. I made it. And you can make suggestions to other people. I just don't get it how people feel that, oh, you have to walk in like you are a saint, right? And be able to work in a place like that. So I think actually you were perfect. But I want to dig a little bit more into the pardon part and about, do you think that felons who are not able to carry weapons, who are not able to vote, right? And your kind was more of a violent one, right? There's a lot of people out there who are in prison who have nonviolent crimes, but they're felons, right? And they can't even vote, right? And they can't even like do, kind of like do normal things in life. Do you think that maybe more people should be given the opportunity to be pardoned and or expunge their record or whatever the case might be?
Absolutely. I think that after a period of time of really putting in the work and doing what you need to be doing, that should be an option. That should absolutely be a choice, because it's hard to just succeed out there in any way, even after everything that I had done and worked for. In the end, the reason I sought out the what's called clemency in the state of Illinois, and then
Yes.
from there I got a pardon. The reason I sought it out is because even after years and years of just working and working, I got to the end, and they were like, "Oh, can't go any further. Sorry, we're not licensing you as a counselor. We don't care how long you've been working. We don't. You
Right.
got that felony, so you can't have it."
So what is it about Liz, right, that says, okay, I've been beat up a little bit. I stopped school in the eighth grade. You get in the prison. You get your GED. Hold on, no, not just your GED. You get out and then start working for your what is it, associates or you got an associate's degree?
Well, I have a master's degree now.
I know I'm getting there.
Yeah, I got
Right?
my associates. Yeah, I got my associates, and then my bachelor's, and then my master's.
I mean, you're talking about finding your win or getting a second win. That is amazing. What do you think it was though that made you click? That made you make that change? Was it something religious? Was it something just some kind of faith you had on the inside, or was it people on the outside and their support? What was it?
Well, if I had to say, I'd just say that all the pieces kept falling together, and I just had
Mm.
these people in my life throughout, the experiences. The first supervisor that hired me, she went on to be my mentor. And
Mm.
when I wanted to quit my associates program, there was a guy that worked there who was really good at math. She made him help me.
Right.
Like one time I threw my textbook in the garbage and she went back there and took my textbook out of the garbage. You know what I mean? Like little moments like that.
Yeah.
And then when you get to, I remember standing there graduating with my bachelor's and I was like, okay, like I did it. Like I'm done. But even then I was like, you know what? I owe it to all these people that keep investing in me, and I don't know why, to keep going and keep doing as much
Wow.
as I can possibly do to give back, because I've messed up so bad. And that was a weight that I carried too. I kept telling myself, I've messed up so bad, and all these people keep doing so many things for me. I have to give back. I
So
have
what
to
do you
keep
think?
going.
So what do you think about people who feel like that it's too late for change? I know, and one of the things that you said was that basically it's never too late to change.
No, yeah, you just got to keep going. You got to grind through the, people. There will be people that will tell you can't do it. There will be people that tell you no, and you just have to find where you can go to get it. That's what I found out. Every step of the way there was somebody that told me I couldn't do what I was doing. But then there were other people that said, no, keep going. And so finally, I'm just like, I'm just going to keep going. When I first got into my social work program, they told me there's no way, like, you're not going to ever be able to get licensed. Like, you're not going to find success. I'm also working a full-time job and a part-time job. And I remember the person who ran the program at my bachelor's
Mhm.
program at the university telling me, you can't work full-time, part-time, and do your internship. You're never going to graduate.
Yeah.
It's just too much. There's too much on
Mhm.
your plate.
Mhm.
And and I talk about people, one of the most valuable moments of my life was sitting with my boss and this woman and my boss saying, Liz can absolutely do anything she can.
Mhm.
And I graduated with a 4.0.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah.
So what is it though, being in the midst of turmoil like that? When I say turmoil, meaning that so much swirling around and so many people saying negative, 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 and you have to peer through that darkness and find the light at the end of the tunnel and be able to say, "Oh yes, I can." What do you think that takes to do that?
I just can't see an option. I just can't see like, okay, so you tell me I can't move forward. What do? I
Mm,
just sit here?
mm.
That doesn't make sense to me. I have
So
to.
the failure was much bigger than the actual opportunity or possibility of succeeding.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
Wow.
couldn't I couldn't just settle. There's just too many people in my corner, and I knew at this point, I knew that I had something in me that I can keep going, that I could work, and I could, maybe I did have too much on my plate, but I knew I could handle it and I could do it, and
Well, here I go. Here I go again, Liz. You said a word. You said I knew. Okay. Knowledge, right? Real knowledge transforms a person's actions, right? Real knowledge, right? You said I knew.
yeah,
Where
at that
do you
point,
think
yeah.
that knowledge? Where did that innate knowledge come from? How did you know that you could do better when you didn't have a whole? Did you have a lot of examples around you?
Um, I guess it just depends on what kind of example you're talking about, because
Positive
I
ones.
would have to say my mom, she, part of that story, and that's a separate story, but she was in a domestic violence relationship and left with nothing, with two kids. And I watched her grind and work and put food on the table and take care of us and make sure we always had somewhere to live. And then she went to school. She got her bachelor's degree, which is, like, just all these
Oh,
significant things. So, like, do I have a model of the person who did it all? No, but I had a model of somebody who started from the bottom and worked their way up.
how much you feel like you owe your mom these days?
Oh yeah, I mean, my mom was, especially as an adult. I mean, she's such a strong person, and she's had her periods where she struggled and slipped, but as a mom, my mom was Wonder Woman.
Right, right. That's good. That's good to know that now. So you did not have any type of relationship with your actual father?
No, my real father is in my life yeah. I saw him every other weekend throughout my whole life. I will say that I don't know that he had as much of an idea of what was going on with me. So when I ended up in jail, I think he was kind of shocked. I think he was always kind of on the, I really hid that. And I was a lot better. I don't know what it was, but my dad was scary. I was a lot better behaved when I was with him. I, I drifted off when I was in my adolescent years, and I didn't spend as much, see him as much because I was hiding this lifestyle. And, I feel like my mom tried to maybe tell him some, some of the stuff I was getting into, but, I think it really caught him off guard. But my dad and me, we have a close relationship. We just don't have a close emotional relationship, if that makes sense. But
it does.
But that's, my dad is my buddy. We camp, we hang out.
Right. A lot of people, and I don't hear you doing that right now, but I'm sure you've heard a lot of people do that. They make excuses all the times about why they can't. Tell them why they can and why making excuses all the time can defeat you.
Well, I could tell you a story, and this is one of the stories in the thing that I wrote. When I got denied my license, they told me, "Hey, listen, this is the law. Sorry, we can't give you your clinical license." And so at that point, I said, "Okay, I'm going to explore this clemency business." So I put together all my pennies and was like, "I'm going to hire a lawyer. I'm going to hire the same lawyer that helped me when I was a kid." And I called him. His name is Thomas Penn. And Thomas Penn, he's a good man. He said, "Listen, Liz, the chances of you getting clemency are so low that I can't even take your money."
Wow.
So low.
Wow.
Nobody gets pardoned in the state of Illinois. And the people that do are like in their 70s, like there's just no way. And so I sat on that, I want to say I sat on that for like a week, and I felt defeated. Like, like I finally hit my roadblock. And then I just I got online and I started looking at like, what does it take? And I decided, you know what? I'm gonna file this petition myself. I'm not an attorney. And I did that. I went to the Prisoners Review Board in Chicago, and I stood in front of that review board. And just a minute ago, you said a lot of people make excuses. And I remember driving to Chicago and telling myself, you will not make an excuse for the things that you've done. You will own that, but you will tell them you are not the same person anymore. And that's exactly what I did. And then nothing. I didn't hear anything. And you have in Illinois, the governor has a undetermined amount of time to make a decision. And we switched governors during that time. When Governor Ronner took office, and I thought, oh, Governor Ronner's never giving me a pardon. And even though I felt like that, I still told myself, like, I'm just gonna keep working and I'm gonna keep doing what I need to do. And one day, 3 years later or something like that, I just in the mail, I got my clemency approval.
That's amazing.
It just like that. And so, yeah, I mean, I just feel like make a decision. This is what I'm going to do, and do it. And when the roadblocks come, figure it out. And I know it's not as easy as I'm saying. It wasn't easy. It was hard. I mean, man, I lived off of no sleep. I worked 2-3 jobs. It was so hard. Everything was so hard, but man, it was so worth it. There's nobody that can make me feel bad about who I was in relation to what I have in my life now, because I know I worked for every bit of it. And I feel like you just got to dig deep and find out who you are, and that might mean 15-hour days. That might mean, a lot of failure. There's a lot of, like I said, I dropped out of that math class 3 times. I'm still, like that still pains me, but it was the reality. It was that hard for me, and I kept signing back up. Like, all right, I'm gonna give this one a try again.
Right. But the key word is that I think that tell people a little bit about finding that prize and keeping your eyes on it. Never losing sight of that prize. At the end of whatever that prize is, sometimes you don't really know, right? But something better than where you are. Tell people about being disciplined and focused in reaching your goals.
I think I just focused on the next goal. So at first it was, I need to be able to pay my bills and pay rent and have my own place legally.
Right.
Step 1. Step 2, I probably should have an education. So I'm gonna get my associate's degree. And and then I just focus on that. Like, and I knew, like, okay, so now that I've talked to a guidance counselor, I know what this looks like. I know that in order to get my associate's degree, I will absolutely have to work full time, and I will have to balance school and have to figure it out. But I
Right.
want my associate's degree, so that's what I'm gonna do. What does that mean? That means I probably won't have a social life, but I probably had too much of a social life in high school, so that's okay.
Right. You did enough for you and somebody else. Because a lot of people are busy being busy, right? They're just busy being busy, and they don't have a target. They don't have the focus and everything to work every day. And you mentioned something about working every day, and not only that, one step at a time. Some people overwhelm themselves with da da da.
Big goal.
Tell us a little bit about organizing yourself as well, as opposed to just being like a bit of this. What about organization? How important is that as far as going towards your goals?
People make jokes about me all the time and say I'm like a robot because I just, my whole life is actually really structured. The life I live now is really structured, and that's the way that I've learned to be successful, is that I know what my day is going to look like the day before, and I just stick to that every day, and I know that's not easy for a lot of people.
Do you write things down, Liz?
Oh yeah. I actually, man, I have like a to-do list and a calendar, and I plan everything. And Lily sometimes has to make me step back because I get so fixated on like, this is what it's supposed to look like.
Right. Well, tell me a little bit more about the job that you do today. You kind of alluded to it a little bit, and working with those kids, and how and about that kid that you see in them that was you before.
Yeah, so I like I said before, I'm a supervisor now, so I run a program out in Southern Illinois for runaway and homeless youth.
Mm,
So we in the state of Illinois, and it's actually the only state in the United States that still has a law that basically requires or gives youth the right to crisis intervention services in the event
mm,
that they don't feel safe in their home.
mm.
So I have a team that responds to those cases. And anytime a kid is an unaccompanied minor, homeless youth, I work with kids from the age of 11 to 24. So some of them are adults, and are homeless. And we have two parts to our program. We have a crisis part where we respond and try to solve those immediate needs, like any safety concerns. And then we have a program where we assign them out a counselor, and that counselor works with them and their family to try to create some stability and safety in their lives over the long term. And I
Wow.
supervise that.
That's you. Wow. I mean, so that master's degree has been something really very helpful for you. And so all you can do now, you just look back. It's just there. I mean, some people look back and they keep looking back, but you just only glance back, but you're looking forward. You're forward marching.
Yeah, once I got to, that's how I became a fighter. Once I accomplished what I wanted to do professionally, I thought, okay, well, now what do I want to do? And so now, and I had some barriers to that as well. So then that I went on that journey. That's a whole
What?
nother podcast, but
Well, yeah, no, it is. But certainly I think your story is remarkable, and I think it's something that's going to help a lot of people. I mean, you're talking about coming from the bottom, really, right, and then getting up into the top. A lot of people just simply give up, right, and they they lose hope. Right, some people commit suicide and all of these other things. Did you ever come across those type of things or have those type of ideas in your life? Or that did not, that somehow you evaded.
yeah, I won't say that I am completely unaffected by mental health issues. I do have anxiety,
Yeah.
but I think that anxiety is what fuels some of the things that help me to be successful.
Hmm.
But no, I've never had to battle depression or had any suicidal ideation or anything like that.
Right.
And I'm very fortunate, and that in itself doesn't make me better than the next person. It's just not the battle that I had to deal with.
Well, we got Debbie on today. We got several people on today. I mean, we had Lily and Kim and Debbie and Maui from Africa and, some other folk. And but Debbie saying, my daughter-in-law rocks. I've actually met Debbie, and I think her husband, boyfriend, I'm not sure, I think at least once or twice. At the event, a really, really nice lady and everything. And I know that they support you and Lily, a lot. And that's really important. Before we wind down here, I want to talk a little bit about your fighting career, just a little bit, and about how Muay Thai has actually helped you. We won't go into the whole thing, but how it's helped you kind of stay structured and move forward and be able to accomplish some of the things. Well, I don't know when you got started in it. How long has Muay Thai and kickboxing been a part of your life in this new life, this second stage, second life of Liz? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I've actually only been training about 8 years now.
Well, okay. Wait, 8 years is a long time, Liz.
at the end of my, getting my master's degree and everything, one of the things that we don't talk about is health. And the only thing that got me through all those jobs and, taking naps in the park and stuff was energy drinks and McDonald's. So after it was all done, I was 200 pounds and I developed some health issues. And my cardiologist said, listen, you're young. I could either put you on some medicine for the rest of your life to regulate your heartbeat, or you can put all that garbage down and get your health back. And that led me to a boxing gym, because running on a treadmill and hanging out at Gold's Gym was absolutely boring to me.
She kind of paused there. Let's give it a second there. She should probably come back up in just a moment. There she is.
just changed my life. And then I worked through that, and I found fighting, and I found an everyday challenge. You don't finish getting better in this sport, right? There's no end point, and that's what I love about it. And when I met my wife, we started traveling and meeting people, and it's just been so incredible. Like, my circle is so full of these amazing, awesome people. Now that I'm winding down, I probably only got like maybe 2 years left to compete. I'm starting to think about what am I going to do from here. I just know that I have to be a part of this culture and this life, because it's so awesome.
Well, Liz, I mean, I told you already. I know you kind of work with a lot of different organizations. All right, I get it. But we have a PKB tournament coming back out there on March the 28th, and we're looking forward to you, helping us referee again and growing in those areas and everything. I don't know if we should show you too much, because I know people already grabbing on you. I see them grabbing at you, Liz. They're like, oh yeah, let Johnny Davis get you in the good train and come over here with us. Listen, that's the way the world is. The way of the world, right? But we're looking for, you did such a good job. It's your first time out there, as far as I know, working with the PKB. We're looking forward to you doing that again and growing wherever you want to go. I mean, we'll certainly use you wherever we can before somebody. And look, I'm just trying to tell you a little secret. They're going to try to lock you down, Liz. Lock you down so that look, don't get too locked down, right? Because I'm just trying to warn you ahead of time, because look, I look for people, and as we do things, and what Chad is doing over there, Chad Mueller is going to get really busy over there, and he's going to do some really big things, I believe, and he's going to need people like you. Trust me, he's going to need people like you, and I know you like Chad, right, and stuff like that. And so don't get too locked down, because when I start talking, I don't know if you can see my hand right now, but when I start talking, right, it means something. That's just what I do, right? It's trying to build areas, and everybody who gets involved, there's probably some monetary, stuff in there as well. That's just what I do. This is part of the business model, right? So keep that in mind. But listen, this has been a great conversation, and I'm so thankful for you taking the time and educating people and just opening up and telling people about your life. I think you're going to help a lot of people. You've already helped a lot of people. You're going to continue to help people. And whatever the next chapter is for you after your fighting, I think it's going to be something that's going to be great. It's going to be very, very productive. So Liz, thanks so much for being on today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Johnny. I appreciate it too.
All right. You take care of yourself. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it right there for yourself, Miss Liz Helton. There, oh man, speaking so honestly about her life and the different things that she's overcome. I mean, it's just an amazing story there. And I think that any person, not just young people, but old people alike, can listen to her story and see that wherever you are right now in your life, you don't have to be there forever. There is change on the next door. Keep opening doors. Keep opening doors. And that very next door could be the change and the message and information that you needed to make that change. And I think that is what Liz's story was about today. It's about, yes, I was in the dark, but I found light, right? I was lost, but then I was found. Those are profound words, I believe, that we need to live by and that we should never, ever, ever give up. And I think that story is something that you should definitely check out and you should listen to. So some of you guys out there, when you get a moment, go type in Johnny Davis Live on Facebook, right? Or on my Facebook channel or on YouTube, and you can certainly see the entire show. And I think that if you listen really close to information that she is giving, it's absolutely outstanding. All right, guys. Well, that's all I have for you today. So what I'm going to be doing, man, I got a busy day, of course, always. I'm getting ready to go over to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for a great fight show, boxing show over there. It's going to be a lot of fun over there with Christy Martin. Mr. Derek Reams and I are going to be there. We're going to be interviewing some people and having a good time. And you'll be able to watch the fights. There's not on my channel, but we'll show you the channel that you can get on. I think it's called Boxing BXNG, where you'll be able to actually watch the actual fights. But we're going to be interviewing some of the fighters before the fight, after the fight, some of the celebrities and things like that. Derek Reams, you know Derek, man. He's a co-host for my show, does a great job and everything. And I think that you should definitely want to check out what's going to be going on this weekend. Next weekend, we'll be in Columbia, South Carolina for a PBSC, that's Point Boxing Sparring Tournament there with Mr. Lance Adams. Guys, you got to check that out. That PBSC is no joke. It's a lot of fun, no knockouts, and it's a great way for people to grow, right, and enhance their skills. All right, guys. Always, we want to thank our sponsors, WearAWig.club and Eastern Offset Printing, for all they do for each other, do for us. Be sure to always respect each other, is what I was going to say. But right now, guys, just wear those masks. And I'm going to also add, get the vaccine, right? If you can get the vaccine, get the vaccine. I'm waiting on mine. I'm definitely going to get mine. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. Forward march. This is Johnny Davis Live, and I'm checking out. Talk to you soon.